Hey guys, we are on day 111 in our Bible reading plan, and today we are reading in the book of 2 Samuel, and we're reading chapters 1 through 4. Now, as we read through the book of 2 Samuel, we're going to be reading about the rise and fall of King David. And one of the really important things that we're going to read here is that ultimately, sort of in the middle of the book, God makes a promise to David that David's kingdom will endure forever and that his throne will be established forever. So here at the beginning of the book, we're going to read how David's kingdom is established. And in chapter 1, we're going to read that David hears of the death of Saul, that he laments, he mourns, he fasts for Saul and for Jonathan, and he pours out this beautiful lament in Saul's honor. And it just shows his heart again around this idea of this is not a celebratory moment, even though his enemy has been killed in battle, even though his enemy is no longer there. David's not celebrating his death, he's mourning his death. It's a sorrowful thing when a king of Israel dies. And then in chapter 2, David inquires of the Lord as to whether or not he should go up to Judah. God tells him to go ahead and go. So David is anointed in Judah. He's anointed king over the tribe of Judah. David reaches out. He blesses the men of Jabesh Gilead for burying Saul. And then we read that Abner makes Ishbosheth king over Israel. So Ishbosheth is proclaimed king over Gilead, Asher, Jezreel, Ephraim, Benjamin, and all of Israel. And we're told that he rules 2 years and that David was king in Hebron for 7 years and 6 months. And then we read about this battle that their men, King Ishbosheth and King David's men, engage in. It's hand-to-hand combat, and David's men defeat their men. And then Joab pursues Abner all the way to Mahanaim. And when they get there, he stops pursuing him and he assembles an army. Mahanaim is where Abner anointed and proclaimed Ishbosheth king. And so we read that at that point, when they get back to that place, Joab goes back and he assembles an army. And we're told from this point on that Ishbosheth's army grows weaker while David's army grows stronger. And to help us understand that David's army is growing stronger, the Lord is blessing him, David's family is also growing stronger. And we're given a genealogy at this point of David's sons and his wives that he's had. And we read that he's had 6 sons and 6 wives. One of his wives is still missing from this picture. Saul's daughter, Michal, still hasn't come back to David. And the next thing we read is that Abner defects from the house of Saul, and he goes to David to throw his support toward David. He gets upset with Ishbosheth, and he says that he's going to do for David everything the Lord has promised. So he goes to David, and when he gets there, David says, well, don't come back into my presence unless you bring me my wife, Saul's daughter. And so Abner goes back and has Ishbosheth remove her from the house of her husband, the man she's now been given to in marriage. And so they do. He follows her weeping. It's sort of a really sad scene until they tell her husband to go back. And so we see that Abner has thrown his support toward David, and he begins working toward building support for David to become king over all of Israel. Abner goes to the elders. He goes to the Benjamites. He goes to Hebron, and then he assembles all of Israel in support of David becoming king over all of Israel. And then David sends him away in peace. And as he goes, Joab, who's actually David's commander of his armies, hears that Abner had been there. He's angry. He's sworn to kill Abner, and he goes after him, and he does kill Abner. And David calls down curses on Joab's family. He publicly laments Abner's death. He fasts. He mourns. He declares that Joab was in the wrong. The people love David for it. All the support that Abner has gathered, David's response here, his righteous response at this unnecessary killing of Abner, it elicits the favor of all of the people who were in support of Abner. When Ishbosheth hears that Abner has died, we're told in the next chapter that he loses courage. And then in chapter 4, we read that Ishbosheth is killed by men, and those men take his head and they bring it to David. And David laments again at Ishbosheth's death. And then he has those men killed for murdering the king. And there's this sense that in David's righteous responses to these events, the people who were in support of these other men are now aligned with David. They're now in support of David as a ruler and as a king because he stood righteously. He didn't kill Ishbosheth himself. That was someone else, and he avenged his death. He doesn't kill Abner. Someone else kills Abner, and he laments that. He didn't kill Saul. Someone else killed Saul, and he lament and mourned that. And so all of the people who maybe would have stood against David at this point, he has, through his righteous act and his righteous response, he has endeared himself to these people. And so we're seeing how David is becoming the king of Israel. We're seeing how through David's righteous response to these situations, the Lord is elevating him and giving him favor and rising him up to be able to take his place as king over Israel. I hope that you're encouraged today that even in the toughest of situations, even when things are messy, we are called to live righteously. We are called to do the things that are right and to stand in those right things. I'm not saying that we should go as far as David did with killing. That's not our place. But just to know, just even in our little everyday moments where we could very easily get back at someone or say the spiteful thing, or other people would probably feel very justified if we did, that we just keep walking this narrow path of righteousness, of doing the things that God has called us to do, of living with the integrity that we see in David, with the consistency that we see in David in our own lives, that God will honor that. And it might not be easy. We might face really difficult moments, but God will be with us in those moments, and we will be able to bring honor and glory to Him through it. That's what encouraged me in the reading today. I hope you have a great day. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this section, what you're noticing in the text, or if anything stood out to you. So leave a comment below and have a great day.